Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you so much for watching The Professor. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I want you to subscribe because this is where you get everything totally. All you get is the truth. Now, I made a video earlier today, and of course, I was dressing in my usual suit and tie. But this video, I am just making it now because the news just came out. In the case of US versus Eddie Alexandre, the defendant, Eddie Alexandre, just won his first pretrial motion. Now, I don't want to cheapen what happened because that's a big win for Eddie Alexandre. And I'm going to explain why that motion is important. Now, remember that the government has been saying or is saying that Eddie Alexandre was conducting a Ponzi scheme, which I've explained what a Ponzi scheme is. So Eddie Alexandre's defense is that everything he did was legal. He didn't do anything illegal. It wasn't a Ponzi scheme. Now, I have spoken to people who are close to Eddie Alexandre. Some of them invested money in Emini FX. And you remember when this case first started, I did a video where I said that I was told that Eddie Alexandre invested some $10 million overseas. So certainly there was some investment overseas. Now, here's why the motion to compel is important. If Eddie Alexandre can actually compel witnesses, okay, overseas, whichever country that he was investing in, whatever money that he was investing, he was invested. If he can compel those witnesses to come to the United States to testify that one, he did invest money, and two, he made a profit. If he could do that, and those testimony can be backed up by document, because this is not somebody who's going to come from Latvia or any other of the European country, Estonia, I think, where he invested money, and all of a sudden somebody's going to come and say, yeah, he did invest and he made money. No, the person will testify, and then they have to have some document that back that up. Now, time for a little bit of education on motion to compel testimony. Now, the rule is very simple, okay? If a judge looked at the facts and the judge decides that a certain piece of evidence is relevant, whether it is relevant to the prosecutor or relevant to the defense, the judge will then agree that type of testimony should come in. Obviously, in this case, this testimony as to whether or not Eddie Alexandre did invest money, people's money overseas, and did make a profit is very, very, very relevant to his defense. So this is certainly a big win for Eddie Alexandre. And as I've said all the time, my job is to report what's happening. My job is not to pass judgment, because at this point in time, nobody knows really where the truth lies. Nobody knows whether the government is saying things that are not correct, or I'm not saying lying, but I would say incorrect. And I'm not saying that Eddie Alexandre did not do anything wrong either. But I think that's the beauty of the criminal system. Things are going to be unfolding. And I think that because remember, and I have to say this to you guys, remember that the government didn't want Eddie Alexandre to receive discovery from the civil case, because there was civil case, the appointed receiver had been conducted discovery, and he was sharing those discovery with Eddie Alexandre. So the government said, no, we don't want him to see what's going on. So the fact that he's able now to get some of these witnesses, and I'm talking about witnesses, I'm hoping it's more than one, to compel their testimony, to have them come and testify, I think that could be a turning point in the case of the United States versus Eddie Alexandre. Now, if that is the fact, if this is true, if this is the way it comes out, then I think that Eddie Alexandre may have a chance to come back. To what extent, I don't know. So it's not the end of the case. As I've said before, this is a motion to compel that the judge signed. The judge agreed with it, Alexandre, that those testimonies should be compelled. The question is that I don't know what the government is going to do, because there's something called an interlocutory appeal in the law. And that is when there are issues, or when there is an issue that is so important that one party wants to appeal it to the appellate court. So is the government going to appeal that? I doubt it, because quite frankly, the government should never try to prevent a defendant from showing evidence that they are not guilty. In other words, any evidence that could inculpate, okay, that could take out, that could really show that the person hasn't done anything wrong, the government should really applaud that and actually push for that. Because at the end of the day, the government is not the enemy. Somebody committed a crime, you get prosecuted. Sometimes people that have not committed any crime get prosecuted because the system is not perfect. So I think that this, as I said, could be a turning point for Idi Alexand. And I will continue to report. I'll let you know what happened. Of course, I got to tell you, I have not really read carefully read the opinion of the judge, but I'm going to do that, and I will talk a little bit about the detail of that motion to compel testimony. Thank you for watching The Professor. Please subscribe to the channel. And certainly, if you are subscribing, then you will know exactly what's going on with this very, very interesting case. One of the biggest case because of the money involved and the number of people. All right. Thank you. All right, baby, I'm done.